Hiring here in the U.S. slowed down last month. The Labor Department says employers added about 75,000 new jobs in May. Unemployment held steady at a historic low of 3.6%. The U.S. added 225,000 jobs during the month of April. This slowdown is a sign that businesses may have become more cautious about hiring in the face of those trade disputes and slowing global growth. Wages rose 3.1%, down slightly from 3.2% in April. On Wall Street today, stocks rose about 1%. The lackluster jobs report is raising hopes that the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates in the coming months. The Dow was up 263 points. The Nasdaq gained 126, and the S&P was up 29 points. Tech and social media stocks saw some strong gains. For more on all this, we're joined now by James McBride from the McBride Group. James, thanks for coming in today. So, we saw that the pace of hiring really slow down here in the U.S. How disappointing are these latest jobs figures?
Well, they're disappointing for people looking for a job, but the stock market loved it because they see a rate cut coming sooner than later, maybe as early as next month, but certainly by September. So the market, unfortunately, liked the bad news. But I would caution that the 75,000 number of the jobs report may be a little off because, first of all, it was so drastically different from the month before. And I think it's important to remind viewers that these job report statistics are revised the following month and 2 months later, so it might change a little bit.
Yeah, as you point out here, analysts were expecting employers to add about 175,000 jobs in May, and again, that figure was 100,000 jobs below that. How do you think we get so far off here, and what's going on?
Well, it does happen, and part of it, like maybe 40,000 jobs, is related to the flooding that happened in the Midwest and the East, so that's a huge impact. But again, I would just say it's so drastically off from what was expected and the previous month that my guess is those numbers will be revised upwards next month or the month after.
All right, and as you point out, you sort of have this juxtaposition because we have these really lackluster jobs figures come out, but at the same time, you have a really strong showing on Wall Street. And so what do you believe the mindset of investors is? They're looking to the future here and the potential for rate cuts.
Right, and Wall Street loves no competition. And when the interest rates get lower, like for example, the 10-year Treasury is just over 2%. That's a 21-month low. That makes that investment very unattractive for a lot of people. Compare it with something you can buy in a stock like a Procter & Gamble, a really solid company. The company's up 20% this year, and they pay a 2.75% dividend. So it makes the stock market and a lot of the big, fairly safe companies in the stock market much more attractive. So there you go.
Well, so for a long time, up until May, we've seen some really strong jobs numbers, certainly here. Employers across the board adding jobs. Is what we saw unfold here in May, and obviously, we still have to see how it shakes out and what the final figures are, but is this a sign that the economy here that is doing well may be softening just a bit?
Yes, it is. The economy is softening, and the big question mark is what are the effects of the trade war going to be on this economy?
Sure. And
we just don't know. And you can look what the market goes up dramatically or down dramatically. It's always related to trade. So it's a tough nut to crack, but it has to be cracked. This trade war has put the Chinese in a position where they really are defending the indefensible. They're trying to defend forced technology transfers, dumping, and the theft of intellectual property, things like patents, trademarks, trade secrets, copyrights. CNBC did a study and it said that 20% of the companies they interviewed said the Chinese had stolen their intellectual property in the last year. And intellectual property makes up 80% of the value of our S&P 500 companies. So it's a war. It's probably a necessary war. A war you believe has to be waged. All right, we have to leave the conversation there. Always good to talk to you. James McBride from the McBride Group. Thanks for being with us. My pleasure. Appreciate it.